In this section, we're going to work with units of measure, and in doing so, we're using a procedure called dimensional analysis. Let's start here. Let's change 9 hours into seconds. So here's how I like to do these. I like to start by doing this. I'm going to say where I'm going from. I'm going from 9 hours to seconds. And I'll just do this with our abbreviation. So 9 hours, I'm going to convert to seconds. And I'm going to start it like this. I'm going to go with 9 hours, and then I'm going to write it over 1 because we're going to have a collection of fractions here. 9 hours is to 1 as times. Now, here's what we know. We want to get rid of the hours. We want to get rid of the hours and finally get down to seconds. So I'm going to do a conversion here. What do I know? I know hours, and then we know hours goes to minutes, and then minutes to seconds. So why don't we write this? 9 hours, and what I'm going to do is make a conversion here. I'm going to say that, if I can write it here, 60 minutes is 1 hour. The idea is to put hour, I have it on top, put hour on the bottom so that eventually they'll cancel. And this is 1, right? Here's what we have. 9 hours times 1. 60 minutes, 1 hour is the same thing. That's just a 1. We're just multiplying by 1. We're just making the 1 look a little bit different. Okay, and now what we want is, I want to go from minutes to seconds, right? We got hours, minutes, then seconds. So we've got hours. I'm going to cancel the hours, put it on the bottom. I'll be left with minutes. Now I want minutes to cancel, so I'm going to put that on the bottom. And here's what we know. We know that there's 60 seconds in 1 minute. And so if I write it like this with the minutes on the bottom, it'll cancel with this one. So let's see what we've got now. We have that the hours are going to cancel and the minutes are going to cancel. And here's what we have left now. 9 times 60 times 60 seconds. So let's write that. We're going to have 9 times 60 times 60, I'll write SEC instead of just S, over, now in the denominator, look what we have. 1 times 1 times 1, right? 1 times 1 times 1. I'll go ahead and write it here. We probably don't have to do that. 1 times 1 times 1. And there's no units down here. They all canceled. So now I'm going to multiply 9 times 60 times 60, and I just did that on my calculator, and I got 3240, 3240, and what's left is seconds. So what we're saying now here is that 9 hours is the same as 3,240 seconds. How about as a second example, we change 45 yards down to inches. Now, here's the conversions I know. I know that yards, I can go to feet, and from feet, I can go to inches. So let's try that. I'm going to start it out as I typically do. I'm going to write 45 yards. How about YD for yards? I'm going to convert this to IN, inches. So let's write this as 45 yards is to 1 as times. Now, we know that there's, what do we want? We want yards to cancel, so I want yards down here. And just relative to yards is feet, right? We're going to go from yards to feet to inches. So we know that there are 3 feet in 1 yard. Okay, now what we've got is that the yards will cancel. And now I want to get feet down to inches. So I want the feet to cancel. So this is going to be multiplied again. Now what I know is that there's 12 inches to 1 foot. Now keep in mind what we're doing here. We start with 45 yards. We multiply it by this conversion factor. But this is just a 1, right? 3 feet and 1 yard, that's the same thing. That's just a 1. So if we multiply this by 1, we're not changing the value. We're just going to change the appearance. Then we again multiply by, this is 1. 12 inches, 1 foot is the same thing. So this is just a 1. So we're just starting with the 45 yards, multiplying by 1, multiplying by 1. Not changing the value, but just the appearance. So what we'll have here is 45, on the top we'll have 45 times 3 times 12 inches over right? Look at the top. We've got 45 times 3 times 12. That's what I wrote here. 45 times 3 times 12 inches over, right, over, now 1 times 1 times 1. All the units are gone. So we're going to write a 1 times 1 times 1. And multiplying the 45 and the 3 and the 12 together gives us 1620. 1620 all over 1 times 1 times 1 is 1, but we still have the inches up there. And 1620 divided by 1 is just 1620, so we're going to have 1,620 inches. So we're now saying that 45 yards is the same as 1,620 inches. Let's try this problem here. We're going to change 4 miles now to inches. So what I'm thinking is that miles, below that is feet. I know a conversion from miles to feet, and then feet right to inches. So here's how I'm going to start. I'm going to go with 4 miles, and I want to change that to inches. So let's start with our 4 miles over 1 times. Now, here's what I know. From miles, right below miles, I can go to yard. I can go to feet. So I'm going to go 5,280 feet in 1 mile. And how do I know that? Well, I know it because I looked at my conversion table. So for a lot of these problems, you're going to need a conversion table. And there's usually one in your book. And now what I want to do is I want to get rid of the feet, right? The miles are going to cancel. I want the feet to cancel. So what do I know? I know that there's 12 inches in 1 foot. So let's make that multiplication. So times 12 inches in 1 foot. So let's cancel our units. The miles are going to cancel. The feet are going to cancel. And we are left with that 4 times the 5,280 times 12 inches all over 1 times 1 times 1, right? Once again, the denominator, 1 times 1 times 1. The units are gone. They canceled. So now let's multiply 4 by 5,280 by 12. Now, when I did that, I got 252,960 inches all over 1. And I did that multiplication on my calculator. So we're saying now that 4 miles is 252,960 inches. Now, let's give this a try. Let's change 18 pounds to ounces. So I'm going to start it as usual. I'm going to start here with 18 lb for pounds, and I want to change this to OZ, ounces. So I will start this as 18 pounds over 1 times, now here's our conversion. We want pounds to cancel. And if we look in our conversion table, we can see that there's 16 ounces in 1 pound. So 16 ounces, 1 pound, those are the same thing. And because I want pounds to cancel, I'm going to put that in the denominator, 1 pound, and I'll put the 16 ounces in the numerator. And doing so, the pounds will cancel. So let's cancel those pounds. And then what we're left with is 18 times 16 ounces all over, and in the denominator, 1 times 1. So we're left with 1 times 1. And now multiplying the 18 and 16 together, I got 288 ounces. Right, so 18 pounds is 288 ounces. Let's try a problem like number 5, where we're going to go the opposite direction as we did in number 4. In number 4, we went pounds to ounces, and now let's go 903 ounces to pounds. So I'm going to start with a 903 ounces over 1 times, and now we're going to use our conversion factor. We know that there's 16 ounces in 1 pound, but what we've got here is ounces on the top. So I want ounces on the bottom, so they cancel. So I'm going to write our 16 ounces and on the bottom and the 1 pound on top. Right now we're just multiplying by 1 because 1 pound and 16 ounces are the same thing, so it's just a 1. Now our ounces will cancel, right? These ounces will cancel with those. And what we're going to get now is 903 times 1 pound over, now look in the denominator, if we have 1 times 16, the units are gone, so 1 times 16 in the bottom. So in the top, we've got this 903 times 1 pound, so it's just 903 pounds divided by 16. Now when I make this division, I'm getting this. I'm getting 56.4375, and then we still have the pounds. All right, so we're saying now that 903 ounces turns out to be a little bit more than, well, almost 56.5 pounds. In this next problem, number 6, what we're going to do is we're going to change 55 feet per second. So suppose we're traveling along at 55 feet every second. How many miles an hour is that? So what we're going to do here is change 55, I'm going to write it like this, miles per 1 second. I'll use SEC for second. You may just want to use S. 55 miles per second. I want to change this to miles per hour. I'll use HR. You might just want to use H. So here we go. Let's start here. Let's start with 55 miles over 1 second times. Now, here's what I'm thinking. I want miles on top, so I still want to go miles to miles. But now I want to go seconds to hours. And I'm going to go through an intermediary of minutes. I'm going to go seconds to minutes to hours. So let's go seconds to minutes. Now, here's a conversion that we know. We know that there's, okay, I got seconds. I want seconds to cancel. So I know that there's 60 seconds in 1 minute. Right now, that's just the one. 60 seconds in 1 minute. That's the same thing, but now the seconds are going to cancel. We'll do that in a minute. So let's get those minutes to cancel. So I know that there is, now remember what we're doing. We're going from seconds to minutes to hours. So what we want, and that's good because we want hours on the bottom. So I got seconds to minutes to hours. Now I want minutes to cancel, so I want minutes on top. So I know that there's 60 minutes in 1 hour. So look at our cancellations here. Seconds and seconds cancel. Minutes and minutes cancel. And we are left with, let's look at what we have left, 55 miles, so we'll write that. We have 55 miles times, right, times 60 times 60. Let's get those. Times 60 times 60 all over. In our denominator, we have 1 times 1 times 1 hour. So we'll get those. We'll have 1 times 1 times 1 hour. So in the top, we're going to multiply our 55 and 60 again, and I just did that on my calculator, and I got 198 and 3 zeros, and we still have the miles left. So let's get our miles. And in the denominator, we've got 1 times 1 times 1 hour, so I've got 1 hour down here. But the way I'm going to write it is this. I'm going to write 198,000 miles per hour. Let's do this problem here. Number 7, at least our number 7, we're going to change $11.25 an hour to dollars per year. So if you're making $11.25 an hour and you're working a 40-hour week, we'll just assume a work week is 40 hours and that there's 52 weeks in a year. So I'll start as I usually do, but I'm going to write it like this now. I'm going to write this. I'm going to write $11.25 per hour. So instead of writing this dollar sign, I'm going to write DOL for dollar. So we've got $11.25 per hour. We want to convert that to dollars per year. So you can see we still want dollars on the top, but in the bottom we want hours to go to years. So let's make our conversions here. We're going to have $11.25 for every 1 hour. And now we're told this. Here's our other conversion here. Look at what we're given. We're given that there's 40 hours in 1 week. So what I want is I want hours, right? I got hours on the bottom. I want that to cancel. I want to go from hours to years. So I want to get rid of hours. So I'm going to put hours on top. And what I know by this assumption up here, there's 40 hours in 1 week. So let's write 40 hours is to 1. How about WK for week? And now I want to get rid of the weeks because I'm trying to go from hours to years. So we've got hours to weeks. And now we do know this, that the work week is 52 weeks in a year. There's 52 weeks in a year. So how about if we do this? We want weeks to cancel. We'll put that on top. So how about 52 weeks in 1 year? So I think we'll have this, right? We start with dollars per hour. We get 40 hours in 1 week. And then we get 52 weeks in 1 year. So let's cancel these hours. We'll cancel those. We'll cancel the weeks. And then what we're left with here is $11.25 times 40 times 52, right? That's our top, $11.25 times 40 times 52, over, right, over, so here's our fraction bar, over what? 1 times 1 times 1 year. So we'll have 1 times 1 times 1 year. And when I make this multiplication here on my calculator, 11.25 times 40 times 52, I got $23,400 over 1 year. So how about if we write that like this? We're making $23,400 per year. So if you make $11.25 an hour and you work a 40-hour week for 52 weeks a year, at the end of the year you will have made $23,400.